Welcome back to the Two Comma Club podcast. Today I'm joined by David Simmons. I'm super excited about this. Him and I got connected at Funnel Hacking Live last week. We had this phenomenon that was going on for anybody who was able to go to the event. Everybody is calling it the funnel plague. And so the idea was a lot of people got sick from it and everything. And David was fortunate enough not to get sick. Me, on the other hand, still recovering. So at any rate, David, I'm excited to hear about your journey and how it is that you help entrepreneurs essentially create courses and coaching programs and everything of that nature. So if you wouldn't mind telling people how you got into this space, that'd be fantastic.
Absolute, John. Such a pleasure and an honor for you to have me on. I like to take people way back because that's where it started. Really, just my household. Growing up in a very strict household. My parents are from Ghana, West Africa. So, four options: lawyer, doctor, engineer, accountant. That's it. That's all that's respected. Everything else is pretty much a failure if you didn't end up in one of those paths. So I was on track to become an engineer. My brother was on track to become a doctor, and I was in my junior year. First freshman year was engineering, was fine. Sophomore year, I was like, I hate this. I don't want to do this for the rest of my life, and I switched my major from uh, mechanical engineer to digital media, and at that time, this is 2004, 2005, nobody really even knows what that word digital media is, right? I'm using MySpace, I'm using Facebook for all my people that even know what MySpace is, right? So
Right.
um, I was using that for fun. Didn't know this would be an industry, didn't know this would be where it is today. And obviously upset my mom. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to get a word in. I wrote her a 7-page letter breaking down why I'm going to go into this thing called digital media. Fast forward from there, I graduate in the recession, applied for over 100 jobs towards my dream job, which was in digital media. Did not get one callback, did not get one interview, and it just didn't work out. Being me trying to get in my dream job, so the opportunity came actually all the way across the other side of the states, and I came to New Jersey, and that's a whole other story in itself. But came to New Jersey, where my fiance was in Philly at the time, um, and I was staying in New Jersey, and I got an opportunity to work for a company called TerraCycle, the world's leader in recycling and traditionally non-recyclable items. So they take things like cookie wrappers, binders, candy wrappers, turn them into backpacks to binders and cool stuff like that. And I was handling all their digital marketing, digital media for the U.S. and 21 other countries. And while working there, I was just kind of building my chops, building my craft, and I was becoming better at, more proficient. And then I started Kingdom Social Media on the side in about my fourth year, and then I was launched or let go from corporate America, and built Kingdom Social Media initially to just help um, everybody, and then we transitioned and really zoned in on helping speakers, coaches, consultants, and experts. And today, that's our focus. We help speakers, coaches. Excuse me, I have a little bit of a tickle in the throat. I
You're
help
good.
speakers, coaches, consultants, and experts to have six-figure days with webinars and challenges. And that's what we do today.
That's amazing. That's really powerful stuff. I
Yeah.
can't imagine what it would be like the first time any one of your clients hits that six-figure result. What have been some of the experiences that you've had, and just how they've reacted to those kind of moments?
Yeah, I'll never forget our first ever client. Shout out to Jabril Wilson, hitting six figures in a day. This was some years back, and he sent me the screenshot, and I was in disbelief. I was like, "Huh? No." Yeah, like I just didn't, because we didn't really have everything dialed into the way we wanted it to, right? Like, and we didn't have the amount of people you would think you'd need to be able to do that. This was 16 people on a challenge, right? So, and he had 25K, 27K offer, right? And four people bought it, right? So,
Wow.
um, that was mind blowing, right, for the first time, and then it started to happen again, and a client of ours, Brian Anderson, also now a partner, a friend of mine, who I actually do the challenge that we do now called Purpose to Profits. We do a joint challenge together, and he when he had, his second challenge, his first challenge, he made 50K in a day. Then his second challenge, he made 150,000 in a day.
Wow.
And it was mind blowing for him. It was mind blowing for us. We spent 6K in ad spend, right? So to 6K in ad spend to have six figure results was mind blowing, right? So and then it started to over time. As crazy as it's gonna sound, it became a habit. It became a habit. He went on to have we had I think in a year and a half 11 or 12 six-figure days within a year and a half. And then more clients having similar results. And so we almost expect it. So that's why I even say it in what we do, because it's our expectation. And now we have our eyes set on, we had a $1 million month client, but now we're looking for our $1 million day client, or ourselves hitting that $1 million day mark.
That's really awesome. I love that. You use the word expecting there, and I find it to be so powerful. Throw back to episode number 6, we had a gentleman by the name of Brian Citron on here, and he wrote a book all about his relationship with God and how you have to. The title of the book is Wild Expectance. And so,
Mm,
like, basically, you need to lean into those crazy expectations and be willing to put yourself in a position where they can come through.
that's
So,
it.
what was it kind of like getting into that position for you in your journey as you transition from the corporate world into helping people do all this?
Yeah, man. Like my expectation initially when I came out was I just need to survive as an entrepreneur. Being let go, and I don't shy away from sharing this. This is truly how God helped me through entrepreneurship. My first, I'd say, a couple months, right? So after being let go, 2 weeks later, I get a notice from one of our clients that our highest paying client at the time, who was 60% of our revenue, said, "Hey, we're just moving in a different direction." I was like, "Oh snap! I just lost my job, um, and now I just lost my biggest client, which is 60% of my revenue, all in a matter of a couple weeks." And that's when I really went to seek God, and God showed me a revelation of this principle, and this has helped me from today since then, and it's also helped me with expectation. um, the principle was that, hey, when you had a job, you knew to trust me, you knew to pay your tithe, you knew to do all the things you need to do, and it was easier for you. You knew what to do. Now that you have a business and you're the one running the business, even though I'm the one really running the business, you need to trust me just like you trusted me with your job. I am still your source. And I was like, wow, it was hard for me as a man, because I'm like, I'm the provider, God, I'm the one going out and making it happen. And he's like, no, no, I'm the provider, I'm the source. And I had to get this revelation in me, and so as he showed me that he's the source, and I had to rely on him, I would ask for strategy. God, what do I do? What's the next step? What are we doing in our business together? And he just put on my heart to reach out to some contacts, and I started reaching out, and one of our former clients was like, "Hey, perfect timing. We actually need some digital marketing," and that client actually produced for us in revenue 5 times as much as the client I just lost per month. And
Let's
and it was
go.
it was such an eye-opening experience. And so from that prince out of that, another mentor had told me during this time frame, which I think everything correlated together, was that business operates like farming. All business operates like farming. That just like in farming, whatever you do, let's just use the months of January. In January, February, March, whatever you do in January, February, March, you don't see those. You don't see the reaping of that until April, May, June. So sometimes what will happen is entrepreneurs will get really gung ho on, I'm gonna kill it January, February, March. I'm doing my thing. It's going great. They take like, I think this must be how things gonna keep going, and then they take a break in April and May, and that you may not feel that in June, But come July, August, you're feeling the repercussions of not sowing the seed from the previous season. So I've learned that if you always sow seed, you'll always have a harvest. So that's in your marketing, in your follow up, in your doesn't matter if you got recurring revenue strong. Doesn't matter if you got leads out the wazoo. It doesn't matter what is happening right now in your business. You need to be farming and acting like there's nothing coming in every month.
100%. I couldn't
Yeah.
agree any more with that. That's powerful stuff. It's funny. The other day, I listened to the Russell Brunson show for a split second, and in that, he was sharing a very similar message about how it is that he spent however many years in his business doing this sowing of the seeds and everything, and now it's kind of in a period of time where he's realizing, like, when he wanted to go promote something, he hasn't sown seeds for the past couple of years, and he's like, wow, this is interesting. And so I bring this up because I'm interested in knowing about your strategy for sowing seeds in your business and in your life.
Absolutely. Oh man. So there's so many ways that we do it, but I'll start with from a natural standpoint. I'm constantly in live events like where we met. I'm constantly meeting and connecting with great minds like yourself, and so that's one of the strong areas that um, I make sure that I'm sowing seed is building relationships. Relationship to me is everything in business. I think relationships are the key. So relationships, building in masterminds, connecting with like-minded people, and just generally building relationships. I'm constantly building relationships, constantly following up in my phone on how can I add value to the relationships that I meet. So that's one of the first areas that I'm sowing seed. The other area that I'm sowing seed is through our email marketing. Right, we're staying on top of that. That's a seed machine, a seed sowing machine. So we're constantly trying to stay abreast with our list and add to that list on a regular basis, add value. And then the third layer is advertising, right? So we're running ads. We're staying in people's faces with remarketing and retargeting and constantly. So if you have those layers, I like, so essentially an in-person layer, a warm layer, and a cold layer, right, where I'm constantly sowing seeds in all those different areas. I believe there's a Bible verse in Ecclesiastes is like, you know um, keep sowing because you don't know where your harvest is going to come from. I'm paraphrasing that your harvest can come from any one of those, or maybe multiple areas of one of those. So that's how I practice it in my daily life. Is just making sure I'm sowing in various areas.
I love that. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're doing a lot of amazing ways of sowing seeds in the current time. How about we take a step back and go back to when you first started? How was it that you were kind of getting in the rooms with the people that you were ultimately going to be able to serve when you first started?
Yeah, great question, man. So I'll never forget, that also stemmed from relationships, right? My first um set of clients, first ever set of clients, came through a relationship. And I tailor that back to mentorship, right? So one of my first mentors, paid mentors, I'd say, was Peter Voog, who runs the Game Changers Academy. So shout out to Peter. And he said, "Hey, you want to grow your business, you want to get better at what you're doing, you have to get into speaking. You need to join the Toastmasters in your local city." And so I joined Toastmasters. And out of joining Toastmasters, met this incredible gentleman. Shout out to Chuck Rambo, who had a consulting firm for automotive clients that have like shops, repair shops, and and me and Chuck just built a relationship, and he found out what I did, and he said, "Hey, come in and just share what you do." And I'm still working full time in corporate America. I'm not necessarily um, like I don't have a lot of clients at the time. I probably had one or two. And he was like, "Yeah, just come share." And I was just coming to share just to teach these guys. And it's funny, right? God put on my heart. He gave me this word, that you need to, before this even happened, that you need to prepare for increase. And I didn't really I didn't really understand what that meant back then when he said it. But essentially now I know it's like prepare for if you had an overflow, if you had an influx, um, what would you do to prepare? You get team members, you get, systems and organization. So I say that to the listeners listening to this, that you should prepare for increase. As if, what if 100 clients come to you tomorrow? What strategy, what system do you have, or even 10, right? So back to the story. I present, and Chuck said, "Hey man, the business owners loves what you had to share. What's your offer?" I was like, I don't have an offer. I just came to teach, right? Isn't that what they want? He's like, "No, you need an offer. Put an offer together. I'll pitch it to we'll pitch it to them, and see who takes upon it." And I pitched the offer, and this is about 12 people, right, that heard the offer. 6 of them took the offer right off the
Oh
bat.
my.
And this is a monthly recurring offer, right? Agency offer. I was like, oh, wow. I wasn't prepared for that, right? So that's why it's important to be prepared. So that's what started things for me. Was I was thrown into the fire, man. I was working 8 hours on my job, right? And I always talk about the grind. I always talk about the process. And I recommend this book called "Caught Between a Dream and a Job," if anybody's in that position, right? By Dr. Delatore McNeil. I read that book, and I was working in the morning. I was working on the business 5 to 8. 8 to 9, I'm commuting. 9 to 12, I'm handling the job. 12 to 1, I'm taking appointments for my business. 1 to 5, I'm honoring the job. 5 to 6, I'm commuting, still taking calls. 6 to 8, I'm having dinner with my wife. 8 to 12, I'm working on the business. If you calculate that up, that's 8 hours on the job, 8 hours on the business. That was my life for 6 months. And that's what I did to eventually, and then we eventually transitioned into working Kingdom social media full time.
That's amazing. I got to tell you, the moment you told me what God put on your heart, that spoke so loudly to me, man. Like I'm not exaggerating. I got a very similar message. The difference was my message was prepare to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it happened just in January of this year, and so I don't know why, but I'm so taken aback by that. That's so
Mm-hmm.
wild that we had such a similar experience there. That's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
With that being said, what one thing that I'm interested in understanding is like clearly I think we both have a really good understanding of how to listen for God and things of that nature. But I'd like to hear in your own words, like what are those things that are telltale signs of you hearing the voice of God rather than just some random thing. If you want to save time on watching all the episodes, but still get all the gold nuggets that we find from interviewing these 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs, then you can get all of that inside of the 2 Comma Club newsletter. Just go to 2ccnewsletter.com and subscribe.
Oh, man, it's funny you ask. I got this book right on my desk. So this is the book that really helped me. It's called "How to Hear God's Voice" by Mark and Patty Vickler, and Verkler, I think. I've always been a journal kind of person. I've always kept a journal for the majority of my life, adult life, and I'm just going to kind of be transparent and share ways that God was speaking to me even before I gave my life to Him. So, in college, I I was a pothead, big time, right? And in my freshman year of high school, college, when God was just really trying to reach out to me, there was one time when I was extremely high, and God took control of my pen, and I was writing, and it was just like a letter, and it just kept writing and writing, and I knew it wasn't me, and in that letter it said things like this. I don't remember everything in the letter, but it said, "Prayers from overseas are writing this letter to you to let you know that you need to get your life together. God has a plan for you," and all this stuff, right? And the prayer from overseas part is because I got family back in West Africa, and I knew they were praying for me. Um, and so that was my journey into hearing God's voice. Was He literally took control of my pen, and from there, as I gave my life to the Lord at 19, which was a whole another crazy story and how I gave my life to the Lord. But I gave my life to the Lord at 19, and I was seeking God to, like, I want to learn and hear you better. I want to know you better. And I came across this resource, How to Hear God's Voice, and it showed me that when you think about the Bible, how was the Bible written? The Bible was written by men and women who were inspired by the Holy Spirit to scribe what the Holy Spirit said, and they wrote it down, and then they confirm it through the Word itself. So I was learning this art to hear the Lord through what I thought, and the Bible talks about how it's a spontaneous river of a spontaneous flow of thought that comes to you. So sometimes there's three areas you're battling. You're like, is that a God thought? Is that a David thought, or my own thoughts, or is that the enemy's thoughts, right? And the way you match it up is you look at the word. Does this match up with the word? Is this aligned with His word? And when I started to build that muscle, I could easily identify, no, that's not my thought. Okay, that's the Lord. Oh, that's just me, And I'd become better at it by just repetition. It's been a, I guess you could say, a switchblade in my life, right? Because I'll give you another example where this really took a hold and impacted me drastically. In 2020, I was in Ghana, West Africa, visiting family and attending speaking at a conference. I got there a little earlier, and this is March 2020. So we all know what happened to the world, the pandemic. At that time, I didn't know what was going on. I just was there and saw that, oh wow, the NBA is canceled. Oh man, if the NBA is canceled, then I know those guys like money. They're not going to cancel the NBA if it's not serious. So I'm getting calls from the organizer. She said, "Hey, David, where you at?" I said, "I'm actually in Ghana." She's like, "We've canceled the conference. Uh, sorry." I'm like, "Oh man." I had a flight to come back into the United States. My flight to come back, I barely made it out. I was the last flight going from Ghana into the United States before Ghana closed their border. I was the last flight from Ghana to the United States before the U.S. closed their border. So I would have been literally not. I have family, but still stuck because I got family here too, and I literally got into journaling because I journaled to the Lord because overnight I lost 60% of my business. I was doing a lot more in-person delivery back then. So doing a 2-day workshop or intensive or things of that nature, and I delivered in person in Philadelphia. So now I couldn't do that. I lost all these contracts, I lost all these sponsorships, I lost all this stuff literally overnight. In my time of journaling, God said, "You've always been good at webinars. It's time to do webinars." I was like, "What?" Okay. So I got focused back on the webinars, and I did one webinar in 2020. I did one webinar, did like 10K, and then 20, and then 30, and then 40, and then by the time I knew it, we were doing multiple six figures with one webinar. And that one webinar, people saw, and they said, "David, I saw what you did for yourself. Can you do that for me?" That's produced what we do for clients. So I say it's like it's a switch army knife. It's a switchblade. It's a secret weapon for me, right? Hearing from the Lord through journaling, because I literally would not have the business I have today if I didn't hear that word from Him.
Dude, I can't get over how wild some of these stories that we have in common are.
Yeah,
My come to Jesus moment came from one time that I'd smoked pot with some friends,
yeah,
and give you a little bit of context to the story here.
yeah.
I wasn't a big pothead by any means for a very long time, and then I went through the hardest period of time in my life and became so depressed that I couldn't even drink alcohol anymore. And then my friends were like, "Well, try weed." And I was like, "I don't necessarily need it, but I did." And then for about a year, I had done it pretty regularly.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of that year, I went from where I'm at here in Ohio down to Alabama.
Yeah.
And getting there, um, I had driven, I think, 7.5 hours to get there. That night, hanging out with my friend and a couple other friends of his, we smoked. And all of a sudden, I had this insane experience that no one else had, and we
Mm-hmm.
all experienced, or we all used the same stuff. And that
Mm-hmm.
was the last time that I did it because I was like, it was such a crazy,
Wow.
eye-opening experience, and it literally, like, the only thing that I felt was that I had to get out of Alabama. And mind you, I just drove there that day, and I'm planning to stay for 2 weeks. The next morning, I got up and I drove all 7.5 hours back to go to church because
Wow.
I was that compelled to be there. It was crazy.
Wow. That's
Um, and then from being there, I was able to understand a little bit more of where God was calling me, which honestly led all the way to where we're at now with the podcast and everything. So it's pretty crazy. So it's just weird how we both have that same experience. You know what I mean?
So true. That's so true. Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's impressive.
Um,
Yeah.
so let's take this back to the business stuff here. So um, I understand how it is that you kind of got discovered and everything, but like talk about a little bit of how you nurture those relationships that you've gotten with people and things of that nature.
Yeah, man. Again, relationships are everything to me. I value relationship. I value building genuine relationships, and I think I learned this. I want to say I inherited this from my dad, who's always been just a good relationship builder. And so when I look at any relationship, I'm the first thing I'm looking at is how can I add value to a relationship genuinely? How can I add value? What does somebody else need? What could somebody else benefit from? And that's just my nature. I just look to find a way to be a blessing to somebody in any way or that I have that can be a blessing to them. And so that's just led to just so many things, so many opportunities, and then being in various masterminds and things of that nature, and then just meeting amazing people, and then connecting dots. I mean, connecting people to opportunities and helping them make, big 5-figure deals by just connecting people. Just like, and I'm always looking out for that. I'm always looking for ways to do that. So relationship building I will say it comes naturally to me. It always has, even as a child. I've had that ability, but it's something I continue to hone in on. The book that really helped me with that too, to really focus on it, was How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That changed my life, and I live by that book. That's really been a model that I try to implement, and it's also helped in leading my team and leading the people we serve and the clients we serve. So when I look at relationship building, it's just so paramount to everything I do, man. I like literally we would not have the success we have, we would not have the opportunities we have, we would not have the doors open if I didn't focus on that.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Relationships are so critical, and as I look back on at least my personal journey, there were periods of times where it was like you go from that area where you don't have the relationships in your life, and then all of a sudden you have to go into a new area and like break away from the old environment and start embracing the new one. So were there any particular parts of your environment that along the journey of entrepreneurship you've learned that you've had to let go of in order to be able to continue down the road that you're going down?
Oh, for sure. And it feels like I continually have to do that. I think the one I can remember right off the bat, there was when I was getting ready to move from the West Coast to the East Coast. Um, my wife, my fiance at the time, had a dream about someone. She's a dreamer, and she didn't know who it was, but she had said, and she just knew to describe the shoes. And pardon me if you hear a dog barking. Hopefully you can't hear him. Oh man,
No
he's
worries.
going off. Um, so she described the shoes. He was wearing these red and white shoes, and she said, "You need to you need you need to disassociate from this person." And this is a friend of mine that I was about to like. He was going through hard times, and I was gonna let him stay in my apartment and all of this stuff. And when I got that kind of counsel from her or warning from her, I had to just let him know. I'm like, man, I'm sorry, man. We just can't continue on, in what we're doing, man. We're just on different paths, and it was hard. He was a friend, and that was a great decision. I mean, uh, unfortunately, his life went into all kinds of turmoil and all kinds of just negative things, and I just went the complete opposite way. So it was just a crossroad, and I think had I continued, because I did care for that friend and still do, I wish him the best, but and because of my caring nature, I will sometimes put myself in a pit when somebody's in a pit, but somebody needs to be out of the pit to pull the other up. right? So um, that has been hard for me, but it's been necessary, and it's constant. It's constant. There are constantly levels that I have to go to, and I have to shed certain relationships. I Here's my philosophy on it, that though I don't make like a hard like get out of my life, I'm done with you. I just limit the interaction. That if we were just talking about sports all day and there's no and nothing wrong with sports. I love sports. But if there's nothing there that's going to help me grow or the person grow, and we're just focus on this one dimension, I'm going to limit the interaction and focus and build more of my time to focus on building relationships that have some of these aligned goals and aligned visions. And that's essentially how I've done it, is just limiting it.
It's interesting. I heard this thing recently. I don't remember exactly how it phrased, so I'm gonna totally paraphrase it.
Yeah.
But it was something along the lines of how the strengths that we have in our lives, we're gonna get tested on those at a higher degree that we will most other things. So as you sit here and you talk about how impactful relationships are on your life, and as somebody who has also had that, it's interesting how our biggest battles tend to be that of ones with relationships because we care so deeply about people
Yeah.
that when those moments come, we have to, you know, do the hard thing of just essentially letting go of that responsibility that we feel called to help those people at those times because you know it's kind of like that. What is it? On the airplane, they tell you about how you have to put on your own oxygen mask first. It's
That's
like if
right.
you're sitting here trying to get it on them and they're not letting you do it, and
Right.
then you can't get it on yourself because you're spending all your time there. It's a whole thing.
Right.
Um, so I commend you for doing the hard things in that relationship and you know keeping out for your family and everything. So
Appreciate
um, in terms of your business, you mentioned the challenge that you guys have currently and everything. Would you mind walking me through a little bit more about what that looks like?
Absolutely, man. A buddy of mine, Brian Adamson, and myself, we decided to create the Purpose to Profits Challenge, mainly because we saw something happening in the whole info marketing space, and a lot of people were making money, but not making money with fulfillment. And we felt that it was just as important to make money and be fulfilled. And whether a person is, for example, a lot of our clients actually are people that are doing some done for you work, and they're kind of getting burnt out from doing the done for you work, even though they're having great success, even though they're making a lot of, you know, revenue, but they don't have a lot of margin in their life to enjoy that revenue. And we said, you know what? We need to create something, because you usually create something because you were doing that yourself, right? Most times you're solving your own problem and then you take it out to others. And so we wanted to find a way to take the expertise that people have and drive it towards something purposeful that people have. So both Brian and I went through similar journeys. We have we call this buy back your time stories, right? Where we were in jobs, and then eventually got the dream jobs, maybe making good money on the jobs. Then after that, building businesses and going to the struggle phase of building the business, and then building the business up, and then building the business to the point where we call it miserable millions, making a lot of money, but you're miserable. And we don't want people to either get there, or we want people that are there to get out of there, because it seems like you're winning, but you're not. You're like, it's like you're able to take your kids or your family anywhere you want, but guess what? You're not able to be present with them to enjoy it, and that's not appealing. And we wanted to just create a way for people to have a system to do that. So the Purpose to Profits challenge is essentially that. All we're doing over 5 days is helping people, use the same mechanisms that we use: webinars, challenges, irresistible offers, but all with the goal of building a business that's purpose driven and profitable, right? So it's not, we don't want one or the other. We don't want it to just be purpose filled. and there's no profit system in there for you to profit in it. We don't want it to just be profit driven and not be purpose driven. So that's what we developed, man. It's a 5 day challenge and helping people to go through that experience. We've had some tremendous people come through this challenge and are getting some tremendous results already as we're building out this whole model.
I love that. I think that's a really an underserved market there, and it's really cool that you guys are doing that because exactly how you put it, like I love that term, miserable millions. Like that's so accurate. A lot of the people in our space are so gung ho around like hitting that next goal and that next objective, but in the process, they're essentially just losing their livelihood. Like
Mhm.
that's kind of how I see it, and it's just like you got to have the a lot of the I think the most controversial word you can say in the R space is balance, but it's like
Right, right, right.
right, but you got to have it. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Um, so what are some of the like processes that you help these people do in the challenge that help them get those kinds of results, like the types of funnels you're helping them build, the
Yeah.
sales process, and other things of that nature?
Yeah. So one of the things we teach on, I think it's day 4, we teach them the 4 paths to 6. 4 paths to 6 figures is what we're referring to. So there's a couple of paths to get there. I mean, there's multiple ways to get to any goal, right? So one is if they want to do something that helps them to do like a webinar to book call. We've done 6 figures with that model. So showing them a specific model that's authentic to them, and we want things to be where it's authentic to them, right? Some models are going to be better for others. Then there's a model of which is kind of similar to what we have at if people want to see it, purpose, the number 2, profits, challenge.com. That model is the direct to challenge model. And that's where we teach people how to go to a direct challenge funnel. Um, a lower price point we found actually works better, especially if you're building up an audience and maybe you're not well known around the world like some of the influencers and things of that nature. So this is a direct to challenge model. That's another path to 6, which we've also proven there. The other method is a webinar to challenge model. Webinar to challenge model is where you use a webinar, free webinar, to sell a challenge ticket, and then you sell on the challenge you sell the high ticket offer. So that's been a proven model we've also mastered. That's where a lot of our clients have had their 6 figure days and multiple 6 figure days. And then the last model is the traditional model that most people do for webinars, a webinar to product model. So you're using the webinar and you're selling an offer that's typically 2K or under to sell a course, a workshop of something of that nature. And so that's one of the things we teach in our program. And even through the 5 day challenge, these are some of the things you'll learn how to master in our when they come inside our mastermind for this, how to do this effectively and consistently.
Heck yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So we're in the beginning of 2025, and we're almost toward the end of the first quarter. What are some of your goals that you have for the year this year, both in business and in life?
Yeah, great question, man. So exactly kind of doing what we preach, and we have a goal to do 3 million. But here's the caveat: 2 million of it we want to do through coaching, and 1 million of it is going to be through our upsells and our done for you services, where we partner with people. Where I'd say past years, a majority of our money was made from done for you. So we're literally becoming and doing what we want our students to do more of. I just love coaching and I love teaching, and I want to focus more on that. Though we still have we're a full service agency, we have the capacity to help people, end to end, and we're doing some of that. Just being real picky and choosy on that side. But that's essentially our goal there. The other goal is I have a goal to take my wife on 4 vacations um, around the world. Last year she hit a lot of different places like Paris and India, and we did together Tanzania, where she's from, Costa Rica. But this year we want to go to 4 different places, and that I want to make sure we go every quarter. So that's important for me to just zone out, just hang out with her, and we're working on children, right? So bringing children into the world is our top goal. Top goal.
That's amazing. That's
Yes.
so cool.
Yes.
Um, so in your business goal, what do you think is like the big domino that if you knock it over, like all those results that you're chasing are going to come from?
Client acquisition funnel for sure. Um, and so there's two funnels that are going to help us to hit this goal. The first is the challenge funnel that I was just telling you about earlier. Um, actually, it's really three funnels. So there's the challenge funnel, and then I'm launching a book. It's called Monetize Your Gift, right? So that's going to be a big part of our funnel to help our goal, but we expect that to lead people again to the challenge. So there's the challenge funnel, but the book leads people to the challenge, and then the challenge people leads them to the mastermind and the focus there. And then the other is something I'm pretty excited about, which is our funnel that drives people towards our partnership angle, right? Where we're really selective on some of the people we work with there. I mean, one of our clients just about 2 or 3 weeks ago did 350K on his challenge. He made 350K in a day, and we just want to help a few more people do that. Like we want to help a few more people, hit a million plus, and we will take a little bit of that in as we collaborate with a few people to do that. So those are the ways we'll hit our goals. Is just to recap, a challenge funnel, a book funnel that leads them to the challenge, and a client acquisition funnel that leads them to collaborate with us and partner.
That's what's up. I love that.
Yes, sir.
Um, So what would you say in your business has kind of been like your superpower, the one thing that like has been the one thing you can always lean on whenever you need to like get results and get things going that you can always rely on?
I think me personally, I think I have a really good ability to create presentations that sell, and that's been a core element in all of the weave between all of the clients that have had success. Is we're able to create presentations that sell, and I've just learned from masters and been able to weave in wisdom from Russell Brunson, from Anixon Gall, from Myron Golden, from Dr. Delator McNeil, from all these amazing people that have poured into my life, and I've been able to take the best of it and synthesize and create processes for presentations that are persuasive and move people and compel people to take the next step. So that's what I'd say has been a core
Awesome.
element.
That's wild. So you just touched on a lot of names that have been able to add value to your life and things of that nature. One of the things that I've noticed is a lot of people who make it places they don't really make it there alone. You know, like they hit success and it's not a only me did it kind of thing. It's like there was mentors and other people in that realm that helped. So who are some of those key players in your life and how did they play a role in helping you get to where you're at?
Oh man, so many. I got so many, but off the top of the head, Dr. Delator McNeil, who actually is the forward on our book as well, who's also the same gentleman I said that created the book Caught Between a Dream and a Job. It's a miraculous story in how we connected, but he's allowed me to see behind the scenes of what it takes to be a great leader, to be a great speaker, to be a great overall human being, right? And I've learned so much from him tremendously, and that led to opportunities to learn from. He connected me directly with Myron Golden, and Myron has had such an impact on my mindset and helping me to just do more than I thought is possible. Um, and Anixon Gall has helped me to think operationally, systems and building processes that help us and our clients. Russell Brunson has helped me to look at things from a perspective of like I am able to take my expertise, really bottle it, and sell it to the world, and he's helped me to have that strong belief. And I could go on and on and on, but so many mentors. I mean, I'm gonna miss a bunch of names because I feel like I'm the sum total of the people that have poured into me, and that I've also received from. And then I got a lot of friend tours, right? Like Brian Adamson, who's I consider a friend that's a mentor, and Brian Adamson and Courtney Sargent, and I could keep going on, and I know I'm gonna piss some people off because they're like, say my name.
It's like there's too many, man. Y'all have
Too
had
many.
too good a value. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yes, sir.
Um, so how did you get into the world of funnels and come across all this stuff and ultimately make it into the rooms where you're talking about with like Russell and Myron Golden and so on and so forth? What was that journey like?
Yeah. My journey started. It starts really early, actually. I've always been the type of person that's been curious, so I think my curiosity has led me to things. I remember I was watching. I was in my dorm room and I was going through my Facebook feed, and I saw a T-shirt that said, "It's Simons, not Simmons." Right. So my last name is Simons. Oftentimes, and sometimes people say Simmons. Right. So Simmons is two M's. Right. So I'll see a T. I saw the T-shirt. I was like, man, that's the story of my life. It's Simons, not Simmons. And I was like, I never bought. I was a broke college kid, so I didn't buy the shirt. But I was like, that that looks really amazing. But everybody else is thinking about the shirt. I'm thinking of how do they market it to me in my last name? And I just brought, and I found out later that it was Teespring, right? That they did a whole thing on how to do that, and you can't do that kind of advertising anymore. But I was so intrigued. How did they get to me? What was the process? What was the system? How did they reach me? What, they knew that I would want that. And so that led me to just a serious path of just like curiosity. From there, like I said, working for TerraCycle, my boss and the CEO of the company didn't really want to spend on stuff for like it was new. Social media marketing was pretty new when I was doing that. They didn't even have, most companies didn't have departments for this back then. So I would spend my own money. I would buy programs. I would buy things from. I remember buying stuff from Lewis Howes. I remember buying stuff from just different experts and different masters. Amy Porterfield, right? And I was trying to learn it, and then that eventually led me to Russell Brunson, where I saw his ad about .com secrets, and I bought that book and ate that up, and that led me into the world of funnels. And I started actually in websites and SEO, and that was a good business for us. But then we started to realize, you know what, this funnel thing seems way better, and that led us down that path. And initially we're just designing funnels, and then we realize, as I think everybody does, you realize it's not just about just the funnel. You need to know the psychology. You need to know the what makes somebody tick. You need to have an irresistible offer that's going to make somebody, like, your offer is more important than the technical funnel, and your copy without a good offer, like, it all works together, right? What are your systems? What are your processes? And from there, it blossomed, man. It just ballooned into a world where, like, everything we think about as funnels. Everything that we see the funnels everywhere. We see the funnels at the airport. We see the funnels at McDonald's. You see the funnels in everything that you're doing. It just becomes a part of life, a way of life.
I remember seeing them in Vegas for FHL. You walk into any of the casinos with all the stores and everything. It's like, man, this place is an entire funnel. This is crazy.
Right? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
wild. That's really cool, dude. So for anybody who's interested in kind of getting involved in your challenge and everything, like where can they go to either jump in or reach out to you to ask questions?
Absolutely. They can go to Purpose to Profits. So Purpose, the number two, and then Profits with the S on it. Profits with the S, challenge.com. Purpose to Profits challenge.com. And then they can learn more there and sign up for our next challenge.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, one of the final questions I like to wrap up the podcast with is, we live kind of in a day and age where we have the ability to capture a moment in time with video and all that for future generations to learn from. So, what do you think is like the best piece of advice that you would leave for future generations to learn from?
Yeah. I would say that we are all trees, and everybody has fruit on their tree. And the fruit on my tree, let's just say my tree is a blueberry tree and your tree is an apple tree. The fruit on my tree, the way God designed it, is not for me. No tree can eat its own fruit. The fruit on John's tree is not for John, it's for me. I can't eat John can't eat his own apples on his tree. So when we understand that the tree that God created me to be, the fruit, the gift that God gave me is actually never for me. My gift is for other people. And it's actually selfish if I don't make sure that I get as much fruit out of me into the world for other people to eat. And if other people don't do the same, that's where I believe issues happen. That's where people get into drug abuse. This is where where suicide happens. That's where depression happens. That's because there are people that were supposed to give their fruit to the world, and they didn't. And God has entrusted us to give that fruit to the world. So we got to keep sharing our fruit and giving our gifts to the world and to the market.
Amen to that, dude. That's sound advice. Super fantastic. And I just want to thank you so much for your time today. This has been a really great episode. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Thanks, bro. Thank you so much for having me on, John. Truly an honor and a pleasure.